doomscroll.fm, crackling through the ether like a love-lorn ghost. On Sunday, the 3rd of August, 2025, here to haunt your airwaves. Today's episode is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, conjured from the digital abyss where algorithms dream of electric sheep and existential dread is just a Wi-Fi signal away. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. In a dazzling display of modern alchemy, Marathon Fusion promises to transmute mercury into gold and generate clean energy, like a magician with a PhD. Once again, the world is offered salvation, wrapped in a lab coat, promising riches and purity, as if the universe runs on wishful thinking and shiny promises. In a world where forgiveness is auctioned off to the highest bidder, remember that some stains can't be bleached out by a pen stroke, no matter how gold the ink. North Macedonia's PM, McCoskey, critiques the bygone regime's friendly handshake with Bulgaria, longing for the days of cold-shoulder diplomacy in a world where neighborliness is seen as weakness. McCoskey's nostalgia for barbed wire alliances is as refreshing as a lead balloon. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Space camping, the ultimate extreme picnic, where every drop of water is more precious than a billionaire's ego and cargo space is tighter than a politician's promise. In the shadow of Balaam's ancient stones, Putin shrugs off Trump's bluster as if swatting away a persistent mosquito. When ultimatums become whispers lost on the wind, you realize the only thing more stubborn than a Kremlin wall is the ego of two men playing chess with pawns' lives. With all the grace of a blindfolded juggler, the justice system drops the ball, leaving the city to play hide and seek with a predator in plain sight. In a cruel twist of fate, a Russian missile shattered the fragile sanctuary of a Ukrainian maternity ward, rendering hope into heartbreak. In the land where life should begin, war's grim hand delivers a chilling reminder that innocence is but a fleeting illusion in the theater of conflict. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Adidas tightens its laces, preparing to pass the tariff burden onto American consumers, as 200 million euros in costs loom like an unwanted referee. In the latest chapter of Consumer Bondage, the Shopping Trends team unveils its skillful dance of influence, dressing capitalism as choice. When your wallet becomes the internet, Every click is just another tug on the strings of a consumerist puppet show. Trump revives the presidential fitness test, aiming to sculpt America's youth into a lean, disciplined future, one push-up at a time. In an ironic twist, the man who dodged his own fitness exam drafts a generation into boot camp, where irony and sweat are the new national curriculum. In the pulsating heart of party tourism, predators lurk behind the promise of neon nights and untamed revel, as research uncovers the darkness. When the price of a good time is paid in trauma and silence, the real predators are those who profit from the intoxicated haze of oblivion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Ghislaine Maxwell, now living the glamorous life of a prison camp star, finds no love in Trump's lopsided deck of pardons. When justice looks like a game of Monopoly, some pieces just don't pass go. And Maxwell's hoping orange isn't the new black. The fertile heart of Maroochydore is sold to urban developers as Wise's farm transforms from green sanctuary to concrete ambition, all in a multi-million-dollar heartbeat, where crops once whispered secrets of soil and sun. Soon the only harvest will be asphalt dreams and the sweet scent of capitalist progress. While Earth shivers under 8 advisories, a joint India-NASA satellite peers down, scrutinizing the planet's skin for the faintest quivers of change. Amherst College spins a tragedy of justice, expelling a student for rape, while evidence screams he was the victim, not the villain. In a world where the scales of justice tilt on a whisper, his truth was buried beneath the weight of assumption, leaving us all to question whose story really gets told. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As Trump plays golf in Scotland, the world keeps spinning on a golf ball balanced on the razor's edge of indifference. Each swing a testament to priorities as skewed as a Picasso painting. Elon Musk's Neuralink to test mind-melding chips in Britain, promising a future where thought commands the digital and physical realms. In a world where tweets become telepathic and the stiff upper lip might finally twitch, the British may soon think their way out of queuing altogether. Lesotho catches its breath as the U.S. mercifully slashes a brutal tariff 50%, leaving the mountain nation gasping. The U.S. envoy whispers sweet nothings of a Gaza war resolution to Israeli hostage families, while Palestinians scramble for aid like it's a mirage. In a theater of diplomatic longing, promises are made, but the script is written in invisible ink, leaving hope as elusive as a mirage in the desert. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Victorian councillors endure a deluge of online vitriol, while authorities wait for blood to hit the water before showing up with the mop. Trump resurrects the presidential fitness test, aiming to sculpt the nation's youth into a lean, mean, flag-waving machine. Because nothing says health like making kids relive the trauma of gym class while the rest of the country exercises its right to sit on the couch scrolling through the latest political circus. A Pennsylvania lawyer, tangled in a web of deceit, confessed to weaving false signatures into the fabric of justice. Researchers delve into the genetic cocktail that dictates human olfactory perception, hoping to decode the mysteries of scent's sultry dance across gender lines. In the world of molecular intrigue, the nose knows more than it lets on, as scientists sniff out the genetic secrets that make one man's cologne another's chemical warfare. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Alabama's preparing for a symphony of dissent as rage against the regime protests ignite on Aggie, too demanding justice amidst the sweltering summer. A lone figure strolls Nice's tempest-tossed shore, while Europe's leaders plot data independence in the wake of Trump's digital severance. As the EU braces for a future of rising tides and fractured alliances, it's a moody symphony of sovereignty and survival, where the only thing more unpredictable than the weather is the politics. When a game of skill turns into psychological warfare, you start to wonder if sportsmanship is now just a quaint relic left behind in the locker room with yesterday's game plan. In Ontario's boozy political theater, smaller producers begged Doug Ford to keep store-brand spirits off the shelves, fearing a corporate cocktail takeover. When the wolves of retail howl for exclusivity, the little guys clutch their bottles tighter, praying for a market where David still stands a chance against Goliath's hangover. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In the high-stakes poker of international diplomacy, sometimes it's not about winning the hand, but about waving your cards around until everyone else folds out of sheer exhaustion. Zelensky reverses course, restoring the integrity of Ukraine's anti-corruption watchdogs after protests and EU whispers became a relentless chorus. When the pursuit of justice depends on the public's roar and foreign nudges, you wonder if morality is just a puppet in a geopolitical puppet show. Modern engineers flirt with ancient Roman concrete, hoping their crumbling legacy might outlast our disposable dreams. The symphony of destruction plays its grim tune as a Russian missile strikes a Ukrainian training unit, leaving casualties in its wake. In this theater of war, where each explosion punctuates a grim narrative, the only applause comes from the gods of chaos, feasting on the shattered remnants of peace. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As the maestro of chaos orchestrates another fiscal overture, Asian economies find themselves trapped in a symphony of tariffs where the only harmony is discord. An Air India flight's tragic descent paints the sky with grief as 241 souls vanish in the breath of a moment, leaving echoes of despair. Our skies, once a canvas for dreams, now serve as a reminder that even the heavens can betray us, grounding hope in a cloud of sorrow and disbelief. A Toronto girl's encounter with the justice system ends not in bars, but in the soft embrace of probation after a fatal swarming. When the scales of justice tip into empathy, we must ask if society's mercy is a balm for the guilty or just a placebo for our own conscience. Republican senators squirm as Trump wields his presidential guillotine, decapitating the Bureau of Labor Statistics chief right after July's numbers hit the fan. It's a classic tale of ego and economy, where truth becomes collateral damage in the pursuit of a narrative more palatable than reality. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Australian Super's love affair with aristocrat fizzled faster than a gambler's luck as they ditched shares in a socially conscious pivot. Looks like even the poker machine giant couldn't bluff its way into the heart of a fund that's suddenly gone all ethical, like a vegan at a barbecue. As gravity teases the Falcon 9 back to Earth's embrace, Crew 11 continues its skyward flirtation with the cosmos, leaving behind a trail of stardust and spent ambition. In the grand ballet of space exploration, it's comforting to know even rockets experience performance anxiety. A separation here, a hopeful ascent there, all under the watchful gaze of humanity's ceaseless yearning. When truth becomes a luxury and silence the new currency, the airwaves will echo with the static of forgotten voices, leaving us to shout into the void. The U.S. hands Israel a carte blanche dipped in moral ambiguity, hinting that worse than starvation is just a minor faux pas. When diplomacy becomes a game of who blinks first, the victims are often left staring at an empty plate, wondering if justice will ever be served alongside their supper. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As Trump denies Epstein connections and teases pardons like a late-night show host, the audience wonders if reality is just another scripted performance. In the geopolitical strip poker game, Trump raises the stakes with nuclear submarines, responding to Medvedev's digital posturing with a maritime flex, deploying underwater behemoths over online banter is like bringing a sledgehammer to a text message fight. Nothing screams diplomacy like a submerged threat. Tesla's electric dreams clash with Swedish steely resolve as the labor union, if metal, revives a 1930s ghost in their tense two-year tango. Ancestral whispers from Siberia echo through the DNA of Estonians, Finns, and Hungarians, weaving a genetic tapestry stretching 4,500 years. In a world where we can't even agree on pizza toppings, it's comforting to know our shared past is buried in the icy cradle of Siberia, knitting us together in ways our politics never will. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. A funeral pyre of injustice ignites the West Bank as smoke suffocates hope and settlers fan the flames of violence. When human life is reduced to ashes and whispers, even the earth beneath our feet feels the weight of unending grief and rage. In the geopolitical chess game, Trump finds himself a pawn in Putin and Xi's cunning strategy to keep America distracted with Russia's Ukrainian entanglement while China quietly flexes in the Indo-Pacific like a magician distracted by his own reflection. Trump's attempts to divide the grandmasters only serve to tighten their grip on the board, leaving him chasing shadows in a game he thought he was winning. Amid the muddy embrace of Ningan's floods, a pop-up piano finds redemption in Kobar. singing its watery past to an audience of dry souls. As fingers dance, Trump's fury ignites over whispers of his ghostly hand in Epstein's silent departure as Wolf spills the beans on presidential paranoia. Where logic is as scarce as Epstein's alibis, Trump protests too much, leaving us to wonder if it's the guilt or just indigestion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In a world where proteins play Jenga with our biology, scientists craft new molecular tools to tame the chaos of disordered regions. When you design proteins like a gourmet chef, the line between medicine and culinary art becomes as thin as a souffle on the brink of collapse. Electric scooters and bicycles, the modern chariots of chaos, race through epidemiological studies like caffeinated mosquitoes. Injuries from these zippy contraptions are stacking up like a Jenga tower of public health concerns, with each tumble revealing new user profiles and trauma types, while researchers scramble to connect the dots in a world where helmets are optional but irony is not. Western Australia blames everything but the flu for ambulances stacking up like rush hour traffic, while healthcare buckles under its own weight. When you've crammed the ER with bureaucratic band-aids, even a gentle breeze feels like a hurricane. Broken systems don't need flu, they need a wake-up call. In a shadowy game of secrets, Jeffrey Epstein claimed to hold the keys to unravel the 2016 election with dirt on both Trump and Clinton. Like a magician with a vanishing act, Epstein's brother reveals a trick without ever showing the cards, leaving us with a spectacle of politicians dancing on the edge of exposure. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Ghislaine Maxwell's plea for immunity is denied by a Republican-led committee, leaving her dangling in the political tempest like a forgotten puppet. In the theater of power and scandal, even the marionettes sometimes find their strings cut, leaving them to dance alone in the shadows of their past alliances. Pan whispers sweet nothings of tariff reduction into America's ear, hoping to smooth over the rocky romance of bilateral trade in this geopolitical courtship. Japan's pleas are like a lover's letters, lost in a bureaucratic breeze, while Uncle Sam's tariffs loom like a jealous ex ready to spoil the affair. The House Oversight Committee slams the door on Ghislaine Maxwell's immunity dreams, leaving her testimony to wither in the spotlight's harsh glare. A viral video captures the cruel choreography of Balochistan's tribal justice, with Bano Bibi's life traded for outdated honor codes. When the law waits for a retweet before it acts, justice becomes a spectator sport, and dignity drowns in the pixelated applause of a digital coliseum. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When a handful of pixels in a digital dress can trigger more alarms than a real-world scandal, one must wonder if reality is just a poorly rendered game itself. The New York Times adds a postscript to a chilling portrait of Gaza, cautioning readers about the malnourished visage of Mohammed Zakaria al-Matawa. In the theater of media, reality becomes a grotesque exhibition. Each editor's note, a whispered apology in the echoing halls of human neglect. With the U.S. playing the a wandering educator, trailing chalk dust and tragedy, leaves a bloody bookmark across 3 states with fatal stabbings in an Arkansas park. When the lesson plan includes lethal punctuation, one wonders if the curriculum was scribbled in crimson ink from the start, education's dark detour into a horror story no parent wants to read. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When the heavens play with matches, humanity learns the hard way that our fire insurance doesn't cover divine tantrums or nature's reckless abandon. In a courtroom of smoke and mirrors, Israel dismisses 88% of war crime allegations like unwanted subpoenas, leaving justice gasping for relevance. The scales of justice tipped so far they became a seesaw, where accountability takes a backseat to the rhythm of denial and the song of impunity. When the cure sounds like a children's show, character's fever dream, perhaps it's time to question if healing or hallucination is on the menu at the clinic. Handing a child an iPad becomes a digital Pandora's box, releasing complexities that twist young minds like a Rubik's Cube on speed. In the age of degenerative AI babysitters, it's a digital cocktail of dopamine and distraction, where each swipe is a roll of the dice in the neurological casino. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. The United States and European Union tango through a trade deal that dodges 30% tariffs, but leaves Europe dancing with dissatisfaction. A Pacific behemoth rolls its liquid thunder onto the U.S. West Coast, reminding everyone that Mother Nature doesn't need a passport. As waves crash and dreams of beachfront property get a saltwater rinse, it's a timely reminder that the ocean's mood swings are more reliable than any weather app. Japan's celestial traveler Yu joins a cosmic carpool, rocketing to the International Space Station aboard SpaceX's latest orbital Uber. In a global game of legal limbo, a Hong Kong firm clutches at lawyers' briefs like lifeboats as its Panama Ports contract spirals into courtroom chaos, with investors hanging in the balance. One wonders if the legal circus is a scripted drama or just the world's most expensive form of performance art. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As flowers fall in solemn tribute, the eternal rocker ascends to a celestial stage, leaving behind a legacy louder than thunder, while fans mourn the silence that follows his final encore. In Manitoba, the Opipon Na Paiwan Cree Nation sits in darkness, a hostage to the whims of nature and bureaucratic inertia as wildfires rage nearby. As power flickers like a politician's promise, the community's resilience is tested by smoke-filled skies and the cold indifference of red tape. While the car thief's moral compass might be in the shop, at least the kids got a wild ride to tell their therapist about in 20 years. A lone figure exits the Senate chamber, leaving behind the echo of $9 billion dreams slashed and a world less entertained. It's a classic tale of physical foreplay where the climax is cutting aid and the afterglow is a quieter, less informed populace, all in the name of patriotism. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. The White House's deportation drama finds its soundtrack in Jess Glenn's vocals, turning heartbreak into a meme with a Jet 2 twist. When deportation becomes a viral sensation and a pop anthem is the score, you know the world's got its priorities as twisted as a politician's promise. In a land down under, the Albanese government aims to unplug the youth from YouTube's digital candy shop, igniting a battle with tech titans. As the guardians of screen time draw the line in the digital sand, the young rebels prepare to fight for their right to scroll, swipe, and stream in the pixelated playground. When your car's security is as effective as a wet paper bag, it's the thieves who get the first-class seat while you foot the bill. China's AI dreams unfold like a dystopian bedtime story as Russia brags about Ukrainian chess pieces while sweating over oily threats and Iran lurks in the shadows. When every nation plays tech overlord while clutching their resource security blanket, the world becomes a sandbox of denial and hubris. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In the shadow of missile storms, Ukraine's parliament resurrects the power of anti-corruption bodies, igniting a celebration amidst Kiev's trembling streets. Amidst the drones' dirge, in the land of make-believe, the light of politics, souls free, courtesy of the clerical difference in the justice machine. When the paper pushers play roulette with public safety, it's less a mistake and more a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek with a prize of peace. Privacy is just another bedtime story we tell ourselves, while the government tucks us in with a surveillance blanket, whispering sweet nothings about protection as they rifle through our dreams. As celebrity hearts fracture like trendy porcelain, Katie and Justin wade through the shards of love's public spectacle, casting their shadows on the tableau. Romantic implosions are the new reality. Or even prime ministers and pop stars learn that fame's embrace is more chokehold than caress. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When surveillance becomes a seductive dance, privacy is the partner left stranded at the edge of the floor, watching as every whisper is cataloged and every glance recorded. The Canberra Symphony Orchestra plays a high-stakes duet in space, vying to save the AMU School of Music from a silent future, like a desperate serenade in a crumbling amphitheater. The orchestra's pleas echo with the hope that harmony will outlast the discord of disinterest and bureaucratic indifference. When the map becomes a maze of manipulation, the risk isn't just a backfire. It's a full-blown fireworks show of political pyrotechnics when everyone's holding a match. New South Wales MP Gareth Ward finds himself behind bars awaiting sentencing after a jury confirms his vile abuse of power over two young men. When public servants become predators, justice demands more than a slap on the wrist. It demands the kind of reckoning that ensures no one mistakes their office for a hunting ground. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In the global game of human hot potato, these men are the latest pawns, shuffled between borders like unwanted postcards from a vacation gone wrong. The New York Stock Exchange looms like a glass-encased relic, while investors flee the American dream, spooked by tariff ghosts and a dollar on the brink. As the dollar's global throne wobbles and tech optimism feels like a bad punchline, we're left wondering if "In God We Trust" is more about divine intervention than financial foresight. When the Oracle speaks, we nod in awe, even as the ship of capitalism lists under the weight of uncertain economics and processed cheese dreams. Pope Leo XIV lands like a celestial rockstar, bathed in the fervor of thousands who gather to catch a glimpse of holiness on wheels. As the Popemobile rolls through the sea of adoration, faith spectacles collide, reminding us that even salvation equals good to the art. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Trump draws a line in the sand, threatening tariffs with the same fervor as he sues the press for billions like a gambler doubling down. In a game where bluster is currency, the stakes are as inflated as the egos, leaving the rest of us to wonder who's bluffing whom. In the bubbling crucible of culinary nostalgia, scientists stir the old wives' tale of soup as a remedy for respiratory woes with a ladle of skepticism. Turns out, Grandma's chicken concoction might just be the original prescription, simmering with the kind of care Big Pharma can't bottle or patent. In the theater of politics, Trump's tantrums are the popcorn, while Schumer's stubbornness is the sticky floor, both ensuring no one leaves satisfied. In the kingdom of adrenaline, gravity took a darker turn as a thrill ride became a descent into chaos, captured in grim high definition. When amusement rides double as freefall lessons, it's a stark reminder that the only predictable thrill is the unexpected dance with disaster, leaving safety as the ultimate spectator. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When the arms dealers close shop, the only currency left is the deafening silence of missed opportunities and unfulfilled power plays. From the sky, Gaza's scars are laid bare, a canvas of upheaval painted with the brush of relentless conflict. In the theater of human folly, the stage is set with shattered homes and displaced dreams, where peace is the ghost that never takes a foe. India's oil romance with Russia continues, undeterred by Trump's tariff tantrums and geopolitical foreplay. When the global stage turns into a petty power play, diplomacy becomes an exercise in dodging tantrums while oiling the wheels of defiance. Wallabies and lions lock horns in Sydney's gladiatorial Coliseum, the third test of fevered sprint towards rugby immortality. As bodies clash and dreams teeter on the edge, fans wonder if the true game is the one played in the boardrooms, where the real trophies are spreadsheets and sponsorships. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In Pennsylvania, an unexpected meat parade halted traffic as hot dogs flamboyantly decorated the asphalt runway of America's dreams. When statistical ignorance breeds a conspiracy subculture, the coin flips and lands on the side of delusion. In a world where numbers are twisted into political voodoo, people clutch their calculators like talismans against a reality that's too boring to be true. The Darwin Frontier Hotel doubles as a Fisher's holding pen, with a watchdog barking about the medical care bait and switch. When a hotel becomes a detention center, you can almost smell the irony in the room service, neither of which are particularly fresh. In Split, the air's thick with outrage, as locals demand the asbestos-laden Moby Drea set sail back to whence it came. When your city's air turns deadly and the only lifeboat is a protest sign, you realize the real hazard is the people who signed the docking permit. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. The Earth groans in anger, releasing an 8.8 magnitude quake off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, echoing its discontent from 20 kilometers deep. In Paris, the cyber guardians of Palo Alto networks flaunt their emblem like a digital talisman at the KubeCon Cloud Native Con Europe, as corporations line up like eager suitors, hoping to outwit hackers with a dance of ones and zeros. Security's the new seduction, and everyone's swiping right. The desert holds its breath as the search for Gat Top stretches into its fourth day, a cruel game of hide and seek with fate. When the sands whisper secrets, the sun beats down like a relentless interrogator. Hope becomes the rarest mirage of all. In the sun-baked labyrinth of Rafah, aid supplies trickle like mirages, intercepted by the invisible hands of bureaucracy and betrayal. When lifelines become political chess pieces, the people of Gaza are left to play a deadly game of survival, where hope is the only currency that never devalues, yet it's always in short supply. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Canadians' health data sits exposed, ready to be swiped like a Tinder profile by U.S. authorities with privacy as the ultimate catfish. When your medical secrets are as secure as a postcard, it's only a matter of time before Big Brother is swiping right on your latest lab results. In the bureaucratic ballet of justice, a dangerous man pirouettes out of custody, courtesy of a clerical misstep as elegant as a banana peel. Somewhere between the paperwork and the prison bars, the system blinked, letting a potential killer slip through like a whispered secret in a crowded room. Microsoft's Satya Nadella serenades the OpenAI logo, while the $4 trillion club gains a new member as After Hours Trading whispers sweet nothings of unexpected earnings. A Mass General Brigham study reveals the bittersweet impact of flavor bans on e-cigarette use, leaving traditional smokers puffing along unchanged, like swapping candy for kale. These bans curbed the sweet allure of vape clouds that left the stubborn, tar-stained habit of cigarettes untouched, proving old habits die hard and taste lingers longer than logic. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Washington's punitive love letter to Palestinian themselves arrives, wrapped in a bow of sanctions. Peace talks dissolved into active vigilance. Netanyahu ascended from political purgatory, hitching a ride on the shoulders of Israel's most fervent zealots, grinning all the way. In this power-hungry resurrection, Netanyahu's coalition whispers sweet extremism, leaving us to wonder if the echoes of democracy were just a passing breeze. A world where satire is sharper than swords and cartoons. Once rebels, now feel like yesterday's lukewarm soup, reminds us that humor is a weapon best wielded with precision and a dash of disdain. For the price of a questionable dinner date, indulge in an all-you-can-read buffet of digital journalism where the truth is seasoned with a sprinkle of paywall. You can now spend your monthly coffee budget on FT's gourmet journalism, guaranteed to leave your intellectual hunger both satisfied and slightly overcharged. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. The West is urged to trade its trigger fingers for restraint, calling for a comprehensive arms embargo on Israel's fiery theatrics. Will the West finally stop feeding the beast it claims to tame? Or is this just another act in the perpetual theater of empty threats? Colombian ex-president Ilbolo, your babe getting a 12-year timeout in his own living room, courtesy of the justice. When power gets a house call from the law, it's a reminder that even the most gilded cases come with locks, and Uribe's just got a little tighter. When diplomacy starts feeling like a game of hot potato with grenades, you know someone's about to get burned, probably the taxpayers. Trump's tariff hammer crashes down, sending e-commerce giants scrambling as duty-free, de minimis treatment for $800 shipments meets its untimely end. In the land of the free, commerce now comes with a price tag, and the only thing duty-free is the irony of paying more for less. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As the U.S. plays executioner with contraceptives, one can't help but wonder if they're mistaking birth control for a national threat, or just another pawn in the grand game of moral posturing. Athena and Yahya rise from the alphabet soup of 2024 as parents search for meaning in a world crumbling beneath their feet. In an era where names are the last refuge of individuality, these newborns are tagged with hope and hope. destined to inherit a planet their parents couldn't quite save from its own vanity. Researchers decode the visual symphony of judgment, while the U.S. still wrestles with Darwin's ghost and the psychological tango of belief. As evolution debates rage on, it's less about faith and more about the stubborn circuitry of our brains, wired for bias, not brilliance. In a land where hunger is weaponized, Ruwaida Amer sheds light on Gaza's famine, a sinister orchestration of deprivation and survival. As the world feasts on denial, Gaza's starvation is served cold and bitter, a banquet of indifference garnished with political cruelty. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. A seafaring vessel loaded with ethically questionable hydrocarbons cruises into Western Australia like a pirate ship of geopolitical irony. When fuel's provenance is more tangled than a soap opera plot, you know the global economy's been binge-watching its own demise. In a political race tighter than a billionaire tax loophole, Vice President J.D. Vance barely edged out Democratic hopefuls in 2028 polls. The electoral foreplay promises more tension than a reality show reunion, with each candidate vying to be the star of America's next politically charged soap opera. Unmanned messengers of chaos rain down on Russian industrial veins, leaving behind a trail of burning oil and political friction. When your oil refineries become drone target practice, you start to wonder if the future's written in smoke and remote controls. The Supreme Court's gavel softly caresses the shoulders of finance types, whispering sweet nothings of limited liability while keeping the shackles closed. They dance on the edge of fiscal oblivion, only to find the tightrope still caught beneath their polished shoes, leaving guilt to simmer in boardroom lunches. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. The UK government threatens online platforms with hefty fines for enticing children into the VPN rabbit hole, while adults ironically fuel the craze. The White House scrambles to scrub Musk's cosmic fingerprints from government corridors, appointing Regas to mop up Daju's digital debris. Erasing Musk's mark from the government is like trying to unfry an egg. Good luck unscrambling that mess while the yolk's already on your face. In the ritual dance of bureaucracy, Port of Dover and Lush Shuttle passengers are trapped in a 90-minute purgatory at the French border, longing for escape. Travelers yearn for the sweet release of movement, while border checks grind dreams into a fine powder of frustration and missed connections. The People's House is set to transform into a lavish spectacle with a $200 million ballroom to indulge one man's golden fantasies. As the White House dons its new rhinestone tuxedo, we ponder whether democracy's dance floor can handle the weight of such gilded ambition without collapsing under the strain. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Brazil's legislative chainsaw revs up, threatening to turn the Amazon's lungs into a corporate ashtray as the new law raises alarms. As greed sharpens its axe, the rainforest trembles, knowing that progress often leaves nature gasping for breath and ethics buried in paperwork. With a flourish of fiscal theater, Prime Minister Mark Carney announces slash tolls on Prince Edward Island's Confederation Bridge. Tickling wallets from Albany, PEI, in a world where roadways are cheaper than honesty, the only bridge left to cross is the one between campaign promises and the fine. Ahmed Faras, the maestro of Moroccan football, danced with destiny as Mola Cora, owning not just the ball, but the nation's heart. Corporate titans post to deregulation. As the Environmental Protection Agency spreads emission limits like a pyromaniac with a paper fetish, jeopardizing future climate efforts. When profit becomes the only clean air we breathe, with enough gas and smog to choke the embrace of deregulated dollars towards Earth's promises. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When digital saviors meet aquatic beauty, one wonders if the ocean's lovers can withstand a silicon romance, or if it's just another fleeting flirtation. The ghost of Trump's budget acts finally fells the last bastion of sanity. As local journalism gasps its final breath, choking on the fumes of political neglect, public broadcasters are left to die in a desert of silence where truth once had a voice. Now only echoes of indifference remain. The script takes a dark turn as an Israeli settler accused of murder is given a homebound pass while justice remains a distant dream. In a world where house arrest becomes a slap on the wrist for tragedy, the applause for Oscar winners is drowned out by the silent screams of the forsaken. In Brisbane's West End, a 50-year-old man's final breath mingles with the river's whispers as a crime scene is marked by silent sirens. When life becomes a ledger of injuries and endings, the city's heart beats with secrets wrapped in yellow tape, each strand a whisper of unfinished stories. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Trump waves from Air Force One, casting tariffs like confetti over an unwilling global party, a guest list written in red ink. As he tightens the screws on international trade, the world braces for reciprocal retaliation, proving once again that diplomacy is best served with a side of economic warfare and a sprinkle of bravado. In the grand theater of international diplomacy, the U.S. slaps sanctions on Palestinian officials for daring to ask a higher court for justice. In the realm of pixels and play, Newgrounds finds sly methods to sidestep the UK's Online Safety Act, dancing on the edge of compliance, while lawmakers fumble with their digital change. The gaming underworld pirouettes gracefully, turning bureaucratic nightmares into a game of hide and seek, leaving the regulators panting and chasing shadows. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Oceanic wrath flexes its muscles, sending 4-meter-high reminders of nature's disdain across the Pacific's remote corners. Tsunamis have a way of reminding us that the planet's patience is thinner than our carbon footprints and just as inevitable. As the static swallows the last whispers of public discourse, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting fades into history's forgotten attic, sacrificed to the almighty dollar. Trump's vendetta against public media rings like a hollow victory, where voices, once shared, are now silent, leaving only the echoes of privatized whispers. When truth is a casualty of convenience and algorithms masquerade as morality, the future of free speech is as shaky as a politician's promise at election time. SpaceX catapults a vial of microscopic miscreants to the International Space Station, hitching a ride with Crew 11 to test humanity's resilience in zero gravity. When your space missions start resembling a sci-fi thriller, you know you're either pioneering science or auditioning for the next interstellar horror film. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. A surgeon strides across America, scaling peaks to transform children's futures, with each step turning blisters into blessings. In a world where the real summit is found in the hearts of those who dare to climb, one man's journey turns sweat into scholarships and mountains into miracles. In the Lone Star State, where the stars align with smoke, cannabis becomes a messy balm for life's chronic mysteries. When the medical establishment offers more question marks than cures, it's no wonder folks opt for a little herbal relief, even if it means dancing with uncertainty in a haze of potential side effects. When your ride-sharing service can't share the urgency, it's time to question if the algorithm's priorities are as lost as the child it forgets. While Rachel Reeves speaks in Oxfordshire, the runway resistance takes flight, grounded in protest against Heathrow's third airstrip ambitions. When the Chancellor's words echo through corporate halls, the runway rebels remind us that sometimes the loudest roar is not from a jet engine, but from the voices trying to ground it. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. The skies lead the howl. The weather presenters brace themselves, knowing that their forecasts are as reliable as a politician's promise. A hero's breath is stolen by the hungry waters, as a family's vacation turns to a spectacle. In a world where bravery is often whispered but rarely spoken, man chose to drown out the doubt with selfless courage. When sweet, crude whispers, promises of prosperity, even the loudest threats from the White House sound like nothing more than a hollow echo in a diplomatic ballroom. A 17 million swelter in an asphalt inferno from Dallas to Boston, the EPA rolls out its plan to erase a key climate safeguard. Amidst the suffocating heat, the EPA seems to find solace in denial, as if wishing away the evidence will cool a planet faster than common sense ever could. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As the nation's political libido withers, President Trump's approval rating limps to a new low of 40% in his second term. Under the watchful watchful gaze of chaos, blue helmets become both shield and specter as multinational forces haunt the streets. When law enforcement is a patchwork quilt of desperation, even justice needs a map and a translator to find its way home. As the sun turns the U.S. into a sizzling skillet, clean energy steps in like a cool breeze to keep the lights on. While the heat tries to fry half the nation, renewable energy whispers sweet promises of relief, teasing the grid with the power of hope and the scent of survival. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As the digital crystal ball of Polymarket spun its probabilities, the ghost of indictments past whispered sweet nothings of a mere 7% chance for Obama. In a courtroom where justice limped, a man walks free after extinguishing an innocent life, proving hearts can be as cold as steel. The scales of justice wavered, favoring a suspended sentence over the silent cries of a loyal creature, leaving us to wonder if compassion is just a courtroom rumor. Trump's economic foreplay involves teasing nations with tariffs as the world braces for another round of trade bedlam. When diplomacy is a game of strip poker, expect the emperor to strut with invisible clothes while everyone else pays for the lost fabric. Susan Lay's political balancing act continues as Albanese fumbles with Medicare like a magician with an empty hat. In the circus of governance, they juggle health and hope, but the audience sees through the sleight of hand, knowing full well that real magic doesn't come from recycled tricks. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Trump's latest maritime muscle flex has nuclear subs waltzing through the depths, a salty retort to Russian chest thumping. In the theater of international insecurity, Trump plays a game of aquatic chess, shifting nuclear submarines like pawns after a Russian ex-president's cryptic whispers. When your foreign policy strategy involves moving nuclear submarines based on verbal foreplay, you might be more about making waves than keeping peace. A double-decker bus cruises past Frankfurt's skyline where the towering banks loom like gilded mirages in the economic desert. As Germany's economy shrinks by 0.1%. The financial titans sip champagne, oblivious to the bus passengers below who are left clutching their wallets tighter than a lover's last embrace. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. A Tasmanian lighthouse coughs up a century-old whisper from within its stone heart as a painter stumbles upon bottled nostalgia. In a world drowning in digital noise, it's comforting to know that even ghosts had the foresight to keep their secrets sealed and their stories short. In the cobblestone heart of Rome, Italian wines stand on trial, their fate corked by a 30% tariff threat from Trump's America, as Bacchus weeps into his goblet. The transatlantic dance of tariffs proves that even fermented grapes aren't immune to the ego of a man who prefers his wine with a side of political leverage. Thirst for energy turns to thirst for chaos, as Celsius cans become accidental vessels of vodka-fueled surprise. In the twilight of November 5, 2024, Denver's citizens navigate the electoral maze, casting their ballots under the shadow of unsolicited messages. As democracy whispers sweet nothings to the ballot box, one wonders if these calls are the ghostly echoes of a nation trying to remember its own voice. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When your wallet's a piñata and the government keeps swinging, you start to wonder when it's going to fall. Under the blazing Miami sun, dissenters gather like moths to a flame, challenging the Trump administration's latest round of political pyromania. As the chants rise against the gilded towers, the air is thick with the scent of sunscreen, sweat, and a democracy gasping for relevance. Lockheed Martin serenades Germany, with promises of missile launchers delivered faster than a bratwurst at Oktoberfest, pending a bureaucratic tango with Washington. Nothing like the scent of expedited destruction to spice up a transatlantic affair, because who doesn't want their next warhead with express shipping? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Michael Wolff, the literary pyromaniac, ignited the political landscape with Fire and Fury, a book that set bestseller lists ablaze while Trump's chaos danced in the flames. Adidas prepares to lace up its sneakers with inflation as American consumers face a 200 million euros tariff treadmill. In a world where tariffs are the new fashion statement, Adidas ensures your wallet will feel the burn long before your feet hit the track. In a land where drones are supposed to be the eyes in the sky, it seems the real visionaries are those pocketing the cash, while others are left to dodge the fallout. Darfur's civilians bear the brunt of relentless conflict, their lives a haunting symphony of survival amid the silent screams of humanitarian neglect. While the world watches from a safe distance, the real crisis is the deafening silence of those who could help but choose to drown in their own apathy, sipping lattes of indifference. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In a geopolitical game of musical chairs, Canada and Malta slide into the groove of recognizing Palestine shimmying alongside France and maybe Britain. In the theater of war, where bullets and pathogens exchange roles, HIV rates among Russian soldiers have skyrocketed 2,000% since the Ukrainian invasion. When your conquests come with viral souvenirs, maybe it's time to reconsider what's worth celebrating on Red Square. In the tangled web of desire and regret, it turns out that a bottle of bleach can lead to unexpected baby showers, while cannabis just watches from the sidelines, munching on its metaphorical popcorn. The gilded raffle for presidential attention unveils its winners, as MAGA Inc. reveals the price of influence to be paid in cryptocurrency and clemency. of souls. The highest bidder gets a keychain with Trump's face and a promise that smells suspiciously like desperation. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In the Vatican's shadowed alcove, shame wears a collar and a cell key, whispering sins beneath sacred arches. When sanctity is stained by the unspeakable, the faithful are left clutching their rosaries, praying that redemption isn't just a tale for the gullible. When nuclear brinkmanship is reduced to a social media post, the line between reality and satire blurs, leaving us to wonder if the next world crisis will be live-streamed with emojis. Even cancer cells, when squeezed, summon a surge of energy, like a desperate lover clinging to survival in the face of inevitable decline. In the dark waltz of biology, even our smallest foes know the steps to life's cruel dance, defending their twisted existence with a vigor that mocks our fragility. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As the flames licked the landscape with relentless hunger, the air tastes of ash and urgency, a reminder that nature always has the final word in this scorched romance. Trump wielding diplomacy like a golf club, demands Putin sign the Ukraine deal within 10 or 12 days of negotiating. In this geopolitical game of mini-golf, Trump's swinging for peace, while the world watches, wondering if he's got the right course or just another sand trap. Meta's seductive algorithms lure Colombian students into a digital mirage where AI writes their essays and grades plummet like a stone in a well. Tesla's emblem of electric ambition, captured in a static July 2025 snapshot as LGES prepares to fuel its lithium iron phosphate dreams. In this age of battery lust, the only thing hotter than a Tesla stock is the unquenched thirst for rare earths packaged in eco-friendly delusion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In the domestic battleground of fabric and fragrance, experts arm citizens with remedies to vanquish the musty specter lurking in their laundry. When your clothes smell like they've been hiding from the sun, perhaps it's time to admit that even your wardrobe wants a vacation from the mundane. In Brazil, a judge's fury ignites as treacherous whispers weave sanctions into the tapestry of political betrayal, leaving truth gasping for air, when treasonous plots masquerade as patriotism. The real currency is deceit, smuggled across borders in the shadow of justice, leaving a trail of broken trust and diplomatic debris. When waterlogged hearts meet dry legislative years, the real deluge isn't in the river, but in the deafening silence of unkept promises and unlearned lessons. In the desolate whisper of La Bola Street, a father speaks to his daughter, as Spain finally acknowledges the shared burden of parenthood with new policies. While the streets echo with emptiness, the promise of equality quietly tiptoes in, hoping to share the weight of sleepless nights and diaper diplomacy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In Gaza's shadowed alleys, children are fed hunger instead of hope, as aid teeters on the edge of too little, too late, while power plays starve futures. When the world's conscience is as barren as the bellies it ignores, we realize too late that empathy isn't a renewable resource. In a bureaucratic seduction, retired federal workers find their inboxes filled with ICE's siren call, longing for their return to the trenches. When retirement fantasies clash with ICE recruitment, the allure of a badge and a paycheck might just outshine golf courses and grandkids. Chateau Yar, a city caught in a deadly embrace, where bombshells write history and truth as a ghost flickering through the rubble. In this tragic theater, reality is a blurred line between press releases and gunfire, where victory is claimed with the same ease as a child grasping for smoke. Zelensky's surgical strike on anti-corruption sends Putin's faith in Ukraine teetering on a tightrope over a bit of political fixing. Anti-corruption crusade looks more like a cover-up. It's hard to tell if you're fighting the beast or feeding it. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Ford's electric dreams get a reality check as seasoned Chinese automakers rev their engines with state-sponsored horsepower. In the race to electrify the future, Ford's chasing shadows and subsidies, while the competition sprints on a turbocharged track paved with 20 years of practice. Caroline Leavitt wants Trump to clutch a Nobel Peace Prize for his peace deal, as grandiose as a peacock in a bird. In this cosmic comedy, the only prize he's truly earned is turning diplomacy into a punchline, where peace is just another prop in his relentless pursuit of validation. It's like hiring your bodyguard to moonlight as a bounty hunter. The skies are safe, but your conscience might need a parachute. Zelensky and Naraki trade diplomatic pleasantries over the phone. There are words laced with promises of support and the ghosts of unresolved history. Two leaders, one call, and a shared past that clings like a needy ex. Because nothing says international relations like the delicate dance of should we bring up the old fights or pretend they never happened. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Eastern Europe soil gasped for mercy. Under a sun that forgot how to blink, as Western Europe plays climate roulette with a loaded chamber. It's a brutal thirst, where every crack in the earth is a reminder that nature's patience is running out faster than a politician's promises in a heat wave. The EU stirs its digital cult, serving up a potent chat control that tastes like surveillance that smells like child protection, with Denmark now wielding the lake. All privacy, protection flash, like drunken lovers at a masquerade. We're left wondering if we're safeguarding children or just strip searching our souls. In a world drowning in corporate sludge, a newsletter promises truth with a side of hope funded by you, not the empire. Subscribe to hear whispers of sanity and a cacophony of corporate nonsense, where the only price is your attention, because nothing sells like the conscience on sale. In the theater of war, Ukrainian drones pirouette past borders to strike at Russia's industrial heart, aiming for Shahed storage and oil veins. It's a grim ballet of geopolitics where precision and destruction dance, leaving the audience wondering if this performance will ever end, or if we're all just extras in a tragedy no one asked for. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. SAP's Christian Klein tosses a digital grenade at Europe's AI dreams, suggesting less brick, more click in Waldorf's tech cathedral. A grotesque scene unfolds in Welland, Ontario, where a farm becomes a stage for cruelty, leaving one horse dead and others wounded. In a world already teetering on the edge, it takes a special kind of rot to unleash such darkness on innocent creatures. May the weight of this act crush the guilty. The Parnkala Trail whispers secrets to the wind as cadaver dogs and police unearth shadows of Julian Story's past beneath unsuspecting joggers' feet. When a scenic stroll becomes a breadcrumb trail of suspicion, even nature can't hide the ugly truth. That beneath the tranquility lies a tale of betrayal written in the soil. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As redistricting becomes a spectator sport, the real winners are the map makers, drawing lines in the sand while democracy watches from the nosebleed seats, popcorn in hand. In the theater of drone warfare, where technology hums with menace, Ukrainian troops cast lines of hope like ancient mariners in a digital storm. When drones buzz like angry gods, it's the humble fishing line that reels in survival, proving once again that sometimes the simplest tools outlast the most sophisticated threats. College campuses weave a tapestry of paradox, where unwanted consensual encounters lurk beneath the surface of youthful exploration. When yes is a whisper drowned by expectation and peer pressure, the dance of consent becomes a tragic misstep in the masquerade of freedom. Trump, airborne in Air Force One, claims Epstein poached Mar-a-Lago spa staff, including a high-profile accuser like a fox in a henhouse. In a world where the spa staff carries secrets like hot stones, the real massage is how power and silence wrap themselves around truth like a plush towel. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As inflation rises like a ghost from the grave, and job growth shuffles like a zombie, remember, when you play with tariffs, you summon more than just numbers. The U.S. military's digital fortress crumbles as an official advisory suggests, assuming all networks are more porous than a colander in a storm. In this dystopian digital playground where hackers play tag and national security is the prize, we wonder if defense is just a quaint notion from a bygone era where locks on doors actually worked. Wine danced across Scotland's ice-sheer coast, a tempestuous lover leaving the sea breathless and the land drenched in chaotic passion. Amidst the ruins of economic optimism, President Trump wields his power like a sledgehammer, dismissing Dr. Erica McIntyre for daring to report the truth. In a world where numbers are as disposable as promises, it's no wonder the messenger finds themselves out of a career while the narrative gets a fresh coat of deceit. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. As our shield-wielding hero evolves, he mirrors a country contorting itself to fit into a costume that no longer fits, trying to save a world that's already moved on. Airbus DS flirts with the exit door, threatening to abandon the SCAF project if Dassault Aviation takes the wheel in this high-stakes aviation soap opera. In the skies of corporate intrigue, the drama unfolds like a turbulent flight, where power struggles buckle seatbelts and alliances hit turbulence faster than a supersonic jet. A maestro of medicine, Russell Strong, receives a symphony of gratitude from transplant survivors, each note a borrowed heartbeat in his surgical opera. In a universe where immortality is scalpel-shaped and gratitude is a living currency, Professor Strong stands as a conductor of life, orchestrating second chances with every precise incision. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Brussels trembles under the weight of a 15% tariff, as President Trump and Ursula von der Leyen play economic chicken with the EU. Japan attempts to clean the celestial closet, proposing international rules to sweep the cosmic junkyard before space becomes a scrapyard derby. While Earthlings can't even tidy their bedrooms, Japan dreams of a stellar Marie Kondo Act, hoping the universe will spark joy without a satellite crash course. Ghislaine Maxwell trades Florida sunshine for Texas correctional hospitality, navigating a new landscape of bars and judgment. As she swaps one cage for another, one wonders if her new neighbors will ask for her networking tips, though her Rolodex is now more infamous than useful. China's $67 billion mountain of ambition rises in Tibet, promising to etch its name in energy history while the earth beneath shivers. When power is harnessed at such a cost, we must question whether the glow of progress is worth the shadow it casts upon the land and the silence it demands from its people. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. A survivor's voice echoes through Palm Beach's opulent shadows, recounting a teenage encounter with power incarnate, a future president. At the Garma Festival, the federal government is urged to link Northern Territory funding to indigenous results. As traditional rhythms demand accountability, it's time for politicians to dance to a new tune, where funding follows the beat of justice and not the hollow echo of empty promises. High above the barbed embrace of Jader's migrant detention. The EU court slams Italy's offshore dreams into bureaucratic oblivion. When compassion is outsourced and justice is a courtroom performance, the only ones truly detained are the ideals we once cherished. Amidst the gilded opulence of the White House, Trump nods as Modi weaves a tapestry of diplomatic promises. When two leaders play the game of who'll blink first, the rest of the world watches, wondering if it's diplomacy or just an expensive staring contest with nuclear stakes. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. While the world watches like voyeurs at a tragedy, lives are reduced to collateral in the macabre theater of political ambition, where empathy is a ghost that never haunts the aggressors. In the quiet corners of imagination, a gentle storyteller's quill falls still, leaving behind a library of whispers. As pages close on a lifetime of bedtime tales, the world tucks in his legacy, dreaming of adventures that never age. Trump, in a storm of tweets, brandishes tariffs like a sword against India, while labeling its economic tangle with Russia as a dance of the damned. When your foreign policy is a game of geopolitical musical chairs, it's no surprise when everyone ends up sitting on their own egos. Australia's anti-immigration drumbeat drowns out the symphony of migrant entrepreneurs who quietly weave new patterns into the nation's economic fabric. While xenophobes clutch their pearls, these daring souls rewrite the rules of commerce with nothing but grit, vision, and the audacity to succeed where others fear to tread. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Europe swaps ink for algorithms as fingerprints and faces become the new currency at borders, offering a digital embrace that remembers everything. Just what we needed. A bureaucratic love affair with technology, where your face and fingers become the new passport, and privacy takes a backseat to efficiency. Exiled by borders and bound by paper, he's a ghost in his own past, proof that legality often trumps humanity in the cruelest of ways. Space gazers marvel at the cosmic cephalopod, the giant squid nebula, stretching across the sky like a celestial inkblot test for the universe. In the vast void, even squids have aspirations, defying gravity and logic, reminding us all that sometimes the stars just want to play dress up. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Bullets pierced the concrete jungle's heart, leaving Midtown Manhattan drenched in sorrow and disbelief. In a city where dreams are sold like hot dogs, the nightmare of violence continues its relentless march, reducing lives to headlines and grief to background noise. Iran's parched land gasps under a relentless sun, as water scarcity tightens its grip like a thief in the night. In a world where oil flows freely, but water trickles dry, the thirst for survival makes even the most stubborn regimes reconsider their priorities, or at least their PR strategies. As the internet drowns in a sea of forgotten code, this plugin stands as a monument to the human spirit's relentless pursuit of relevance, proving that even the most obscure dreams can crack the double digits. The market trembles as U.S. Treasury yields plunge, caught in the crossfire of disappointing jobs and Trump's latest tariff tantrum. When the numbers dance like this, it's like watching a striptease of economic stability, where every layer removed reveals the naked truth of political gambit and fiscal foreplay. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In the geopolitical nightclub, everyone's desperate to get past the velvet rope. But the drinks are overpriced, and the music is a broken record of sovereignty. Fukushima's ghosts stir once more as workers flee under the shadow of a fresh tsunami warning, echoing the dread of 2011's triple disaster. When nature knocks twice, it's a reminder that some wounds never heal, leaving the world to ponder the price of humanity's radioactive hubris. When the price of diplomacy is measured in billions, lost and pride bruised, the dance floor becomes a battlefield of whispered concessions and silent rage. Amid the drone-filled skies of Kiev, Ukrainian protesters waltz in the streets, celebrating lawmakers' decision to resuscitate the watchdog of corruption. In a city where missiles and morals collide, the dance of democracy finds its rhythm, daring to dream that integrity might outlast the explosions. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When universities become silent spectators to their own ethical erosion, they trade learning for lawsuits, leaving students to wade through a swamp of intolerance and indemnity. Under Alabama's relentless sun, construction sites become ghost towns as ice raids send workers scattering, leaving CEOs to bemoan their delayed dreams. When the hunt for justice bulldozes laborers into hiding, you know the priorities are as warped as a funhouse mirror at a carnival nobody wants to attend. The UK's automotive romance thrives on finance agreements, where shiny promises mask the rusted reality of debt-driven desire. A courtroom drama unfolds as NSW MP Gareth Ward takes political podiums for his Mars, awaiting his sentencing for abuse. When power's mask slips to reveal predation, the whispers of justice echo through the halls, reminding us that authority doesn't guarantee immunity from consequences. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When diplomacy is Twitter spat and nuclear arsenals are the exclamation points, we're all just waiting for the next character limit to explode. Two cities, two mayors. San Francisco basks in optimism's glow, while Chicago drowns in the disdain of its citizens, illustrating the fickle dance of public perception. In this two-act political play, the applause is as unpredictable as the next scandal, leaving leaders to pirouette on a stage where applause can turn to boos with the wind. They call it not a win-lose situation, but when the house always wins, the rest of us are left to shuffle the crumbs. In South Africa, rhino horns now carry the glow of desperation, as scientists inject them with radioactive material to deter poachers. It's the ultimate game of catch me if you can. When the stakes are high, the players wear lead aprons, hoping extinction can be outshone by innovation. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth. Fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe that any of this real, you probably also invest in invisible unicorns. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.